Good morning, Chip. Good morning, Doug. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for dialing in. Day 2 of the InsuredMine iMug, part 2. Well, I think everybody's getting warmed up, getting their coffee ready, as it is starting to get a little bit chilly here in Dallas. So the weathers are changing, and no more in the spring mode.
You should come to Wisconsin. It was snowing yesterday.
Oh boy, I am happy here, Chef.
Thank you. Appreciate the offer.
Yes, we'll give a couple more minutes for folks to dial in. And while we do that, we're going to be doing one more experiment here, which is trying to, Montserrat, can you see how we can do the live to, where is the option to make it live on?
The lobby?
No, lobby, I think it's live. I'm trying to do it live to LinkedIn. So we can have a better outreach for Chip. Again, we are always looking to explore new things. And yesterday was a wonderful success with hundreds of people dialing in. Where is it? More. I don't get break rooms. I don't have those options. Awesome. All right, folks, as you are starting to dial in, couple things just to mention that, you should have received. If not, Montserrat, please let everybody know how they can grab a $7 coffee from for Starbucks coffee gift card to join this session. As Chip said it in a very rhetoric way, hey, iMug, which is come with a mug, and I like that. And we are also fortunate to have Mohamad from Simplified VA, or VA Simplified, however he calls it, and they are sponsoring this gift card for Starbucks coffee. So again, every time we're trying to just try something new and innovate in a way to make it more exciting. So thank you, Mohamad, for he reached out to us yesterday saying, hey, next time let me do lunch. I says, hey, we have coffee coming up tomorrow. Why don't I put your name on that? And he happily accepted that. So here we are, making things change on a go. With that being said, we are heading on the top of the hour. Send you an email and yeah. So as Montserrat mentioned here in the chat, just drop in your email address. And as you know how yesterday it all worked out great. I think initially it was a little bit of a challenge, but later on it worked out. Let's go now. There we go. We are talking here live to Facebook, YouTube, but not to LinkedIn, I guess. No.
I can have it there. I don't know.
So probably there is more options. That's okay, Montserrat. We'll leave it on this for now then. Okay. All right. I see folks already dialing in. And once you have plugged in your email address, one more thing, one more housekeeping item before we can kick it off. Do drop in your message from just a one-liner feedback, what you felt about yesterday's sessions. I believe from top in the day, from Dr. Billy talking about those 20 questions, why you need insurance CRM and what are those questions to answer. Talking about, just taking a step backward on that, as I started talking about InsuredMine and how we are scratching surface. I also want to clarify one comment that I received in my feedback was somebody mentioned that Roshan, you said InsuredMine does not do automation. Well, no, I said what we are doing in automation is we are just scratching the surface. There is so much more we can do. Of course, we are doing automation today. And like anybody else, I don't think anybody has gone above and beyond where automation needs to be. So I was talking a lot more futuristic, where we are heading, what we are committing to, where we are bringing artificial intelligence and machine learning, where we are looking at predictive analytics and big data. So all of those are all our futuristic roadmap and the game plan of what we are committing to. Having said that, what we got today is the base of what you are using. So if there are any other confusion, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to answer any questions later on. With that being said, I don't want to be in between your warm coffee and Chip. I would like to welcome Chip, who is, and again, I will let him introduce himself. But again, I want to just say a little short story how InsuredMine started, and Chip has a big role to play, because my first conference where I was given that opportunity to talk was Elevate. That was a conference run by Trusted Choice at that point. And that is where I get to meet so many great people that from that, it just changed the whole trajectory of where InsuredMine is. So big thank you to Chip for being involved in that. Welcome, Chip. Good morning. Can we start with a quick introduction and then we can kick it off?
You bet. Thanks, Roshan. And I do remember that first Elevate, and I do remember you were a busy guy at that. Yeah, you had a lot of conversations going on. And I'm so glad that Elevate could be help to you guys and to many other insurtechs that are helping independent agents out there. So that's why we did it. So yeah, my name is Chip Bacciocco. I am the CEO of TrustedChoice.com and the former host of Elevate, which was part of Agency Nation. And I'm really glad to be with all of you here today. I'm going to try, we're actually in a minute here, we're going to have a survey and somebody's going to help me with that. And I also at some point have to share my screen so I can go through some slides. Anybody that knows me knows I love a good slide. So should I start doing that now, InsuredMine gang?
Please. Yes, please.
All right, let's see. Here's my IQ test of the day for, can I share something? So let's see. Do you see a mountain at this point? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you do. Do you see a slide? Maybe. Yeah, somebody nod and say yes.
Coffee with Chip.
Coffee with Chip. That's what we want. You got it. All right. You want me to just jump into it, Roshan? Am I off and running?
Yep. You're all set to go. Thank you.
All right. You bet. So, yeah, so I'm glad to be here. I hope everybody has some coffee. I'm actually, in the spirit of things, you can still see me on the screen.
There you go.
Got some espresso here. It's actually Nespresso. I don't own stock in the company, but it's an easy way to have a cheap cup of real espresso. And as you can see, I thought we should do this in Venice. So pretend you're in Venice. Here we are. Let's go through it. All right. So as many of you know, I am independent. I am bullish as all get out on the independent agency system. And I am a big supporter of every organization that helps us compete better, including InsuredMine, which is why I'm here. And Roshan's an old friend. And but I thought we would just do a quick survey rather. And I don't know how this is technically done. So Montserrat or somebody, can you guys poll our audience for this survey? And it's designed to help you or all of us kind of get a sense of how we are working differently since COVID. And I could do this anecdotally, but you know what? Let's just actually do it. So it popped up on my screen.
Yeah, the survey is already launched, so everybody should be able to do that in 30 seconds.
That would be great. Just take a few seconds. They're really easy questions. Before COVID, how many of you worked in the office 4 or more days a week? At this point, how many of you are back to working in the office 4+ days a week? And third, how many of you work less than 3 days a week or about 3? And maybe the hard one, how many of you rarely go? So I just want to see what the results of that are. I'll take another second or two to see what we get. And we'll talk about it. Who can see the results?
It will be launched in a bit once Montserrat can launch the result. Montserrat, can we do that?
It's not scientific. Even if we get this wrong, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is interesting. Look at
All right,
that.
this is interesting. So 80% of us used to go all the time. 70% are back to 4+ days. That's more than I would have guessed. 65, 3+, and rarely going, only 15%. That is really good. And I think most of our insurance company partners wish they could say the same. I know this is a big topic that's going on at major insurers around the country. And I know that they are working on policies to, incentivize people to come back together. But the truth is, it is harder to execute on than they would think. But that's all right. Let's go ahead and regardless of how often we're going, we are now more and more in a sort of a hybrid world of both remote and in present. And I think the thing that we learned maybe the most, and the timing was very fortunate, I think. Imagine if we had the pandemic 7, 8, 10 years ago. It would have been a lot more difficult. The fact that we had Microsoft Teams and Zoom and so forth was really fortuitous, that we, especially in our industry, we were able to pretty quickly adopt to servicing customers, handling customers. But there are other things that we have not adopted to, and I think we need to keep working on those. And the number one thing for people that haven't gone back to the office, that are still facing, and this is including for software and technology companies and everything else, which is the absence of in-person collaboration. If you've ever done any studying of agile software development methodologies, there is a theory, or one of the principles is there's no better form of communication than two human beings standing at a whiteboard. And that's really, I think, true. And I've seen it myself, because humans think both, verbally and visually. And a lot of the way that our brains are organized to store information is actually graphical, because we're old hunter-gatherers, right? So you want to remember where you put the nuts, and you want to remember where you got the fish. And so there's a spatial part of how we think that is really important to understanding concepts and so forth. And communicating through Zoom exclusively is a challenge. So as we work together toward evolving the future of the independent insurance agency system, we have to be aware if this form of communication, how it's going to impact us. How do we collaborate? How do we build and nurture culture, which is so important? How do we educate and train new workers? How do we bring up new leaders? There's a lot of challenges that will come with this, but we are, as always, suited to take them on. So what I want to talk today about is agency innovation, and what it's like today, and things that I think everybody should be keeping in mind as they go through. So the first area I want to talk about is vision and planning. And I love this quote by, if I was a lot older, I think this would have been my favorite baseball player. It's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. That's Yogi Berra with one of his many witticisms. I don't know why baseball produces our society's best philosophers, but just take it for what it is. So it is hard to predict the future. And speaking of the future, I just want to have a little more fun, since it's the first session and I'm still on my first cup of coffee. And I wanted to show you how hard it is to predict the future, even the smartest people. So who remembers the movie Back to the Future 2? Does anybody remember the year that Back to the Future 2, they literally went to the future in the second movie. So I'll just tell you, the second movie takes place in 2015. Which at the time seemed like that's a long time from now. Well, it's 7 years ago. So we have some interesting retrospective. So who's still waiting for their hoverboard? I am. We didn't get the hoverboard.
I own two, but they have wheels.
That's true. That's cheating. So they missed that. Cool vision, but didn't come true. Who's waiting for their Mr. Fusion? I am. This would really be great, especially with gas prices right now, right? If we don't have any form of fusion, we don't even have gigantic fusion, let alone fusion you could run your car with. Who's waiting for two ties to come into fashion? I'm glad we missed this one, actually. This is no big deal. And of course, Marty in many parts of the movie spends time in, of all things, a public telephone booth in 2015. I literally can't remember the last time I saw one. And of course, the best form of instant communication that they anticipated for 2015 was a fax machine on the wall in your living room. So they missed all of that. And they missed one more thing. They missed the entire internet. There's no mobile phones in the whole movie, which, by the way, would have wrecked the plot, because if Doc could talk to Marty and really quickly, or they could text each other, the whole shenanigans would have fallen apart. They would have. So anyway, it is very hard to predict the future, except for one thing. This is easy to predict. Independent agents will be thriving in 2045. I'm thinking I'm going to make a t-shirt. Agents thrive in 45. This is so easy to predict. I'm not even slightly worried. I don't know if they'll be wearing masks and matching ties, but if they are, it'll be fun. That'll be great. So let's do a little work. This is another survey, but I want you to just write this one on your side, on your napkin, the napkin under your coffee. So it's really important, obviously, that independent agencies be thinking about the future. So I know that was fun to do, but really we do have to be thinking about the future. And we don't have to predict, super advanced technologies. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about predicting your place in the marketplace. So I want you to note, this is sort of a do we. Our agency has a 10-year aspirational goal that we have shared with everybody in the office. Yes, no, or maybe, or sort of, right? Just mentally make that note. We know what makes us unique. And it's not just one person in the office, like most of us could tell you that in an elevator. And third, we have a visual diagram of our business model, and it helps us to map our future. And we regularly look at it, talk about it. It's up on a whiteboard. We debate it. I want you to answer those three things for yourself, and then we're going to talk about all of them. But first, of course, I want to hear a little more wisdom from Yogi. You've got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. So I don't really know what that means, but I thought it was fun. All right, so aspirational goal. Every agency, we should not all have the same aspirational goal. That's not the point. You have to have your own, but you really have to sort of make sure that's part of the culture that you're building, that you're talking about it regularly. Google famously had a simple aspirational goal that they wanted to organize all of the information in the world, right? Just like one sentence. And there's plenty of companies that have tried that, but you should try to do it as well. Maybe it's, we will be the largest independent insurance agency in the state of Michigan. Maybe it's, we will serve 10,000 commercial lines clients. I'm literally just made these up. You make up your own. We will be the largest broker of D&O insurance in the Northeast. Some vision, something that you can stand in a room and say, don't forget where we're going, everybody. This is who we want to be. And if you want to make it 5 years, if that's what you can get a hold of better, then make it 5 years, but don't make it next year. Of course, you have to have goals and objectives for this year and next year, but have a compass point aspirational vision. We're going over that mountain. We're going to see what's in that valley. And that will help you, I think, with a lot of little things, believe it or not. If you know the big thing, the little things get a little easier. I think you also ought to have a visual model. This is actually something that I've done many times. It's not easy, I will admit to you, but it's a really great exercise to come back to. This is called a business model canvas. You can find tools out there if you want to look for a template. You can find YouTube videos on how to do one, but it helps you to really categorize all the component parts of your business and where you're going. Who are your key partners? What are the key resources you depend on? And there might be multiple different kinds of customer relationships that you have. There might be multiple channels that you're going through. What are your value propositions that are unique to you? Partners obviously would include carriers, wholesalers, technology companies. And be thinking about obviously the bottom as well. What's the cost structure and the revenue structure that supports all of that? And you don't have to have it. I would highly suggest you do it on a whiteboard this way with literally stick figures, right? Make it as awful art as you can. But then later on, you'll translate it into something that's just writing. But don't start here. Start visual. We do this all the time at trustedchoice.com. We literally write a whole bunch of stick figures at the top of the whiteboard. And we say those are millions of customers. We write a whole bunch of little buildings at the bottom. We say those are thousands of agencies. And then we try to fill in the middle. What are we doing to connect customers to insurance agents? That's our job. In your model, you're going to have different things, but write the actors, write the actions, and try to understand all the component parts. So those are going to help you with vision. We're going to get on here a little bit more tactical in a minute, but I would work on those. Have a 10-year aspirational goal, know what makes you unique, and really think about having a visual diagram of your business model, your unique business, and visit it often. Every year you should pull it out. Or first of all, it should be posted somewhere so everybody can see it. That's the other thing we're missing with virtual offices. I loved when we had things on the wall. We have a perfect whiteboard. We would like take it down and hang it somewhere and say, don't touch that. Get a new whiteboard for new stuff. Tools and data. Who has ever felt like the guy here on the wall? I'm guessing a lot of us. This is not work. He could stand there all day. He could push as hard as he possibly can. He could exert, he could expend 3,000 calories. And technically, he hasn't done a lick of work. And I was an engineer by training. And I like to depend on the technical definition of things. Sometimes it helps me to remember, what does that word mean? Well, in physics, which is a very precise science, work equals force times distance. And if you don't have distance, you don't have work. And in this case, he's pushing on the wall. If he never moves it a single millimeter, doesn't matter how hard he pushes, he's never done any work at all. So translated into business terms, work, I try to think about this in our office too. Work equals effort times results. That's the work somebody did. So they could make a lot of effort, but if they don't actually get a result, we didn't do any work that day. They can call it effort if they want. This boss, I efforted my butt off. I get it, but we didn't get any work done because we didn't get any results. So keep that in mind as you're going through what we're about to talk about. So I'm going to walk you through an exercise to think about where are you exerting great effort in your agency with almost no results. And the simple answer to solve that is to stop doing it. It's that easy. This guy should walk away from the wall. This is pointless. Don't do this again tomorrow. Now, this guy got work done. There's a big hole in the wall. I assume he's the one that put it there. He looks pretty happy about it. And so in this case, you have effort with a result. And so you have work done, and you could even quantify it and measure it. And the difference very often in why this guy knocked the wall down is that he had the right tools for the job. And we have to do the same. We need to have the right tools. If you have the right tools, you have a chance to get a result that you like. And of course, over time, then you can start to think about, well, how could I knock down the wall faster? Maybe I need a different tool. Maybe I need a heavier tool. Maybe I need another person, and they also have the same tools I have, right? So then you start to scale your problem. But thinking about it in terms of effort times result, I think will help. So here's another one of those things where I didn't make you do the survey per se, and I'm sure these slides will be shared and this is all recorded, but I would work toward being able to say in my agency that this was true. Our tools and our business processes multiply our productivity. We need comprehensive access to our business data. We have a KPI scorecard dashboard that we track weekly. And we have a vision for how our systems integrate. So let me show you a little bit more about what I mean on those last two. So this is a screenshot. You probably recognize it. I apologize for the quality of it. I grabbed it off of a YouTube video. but this is an InsuredMine dashboard. And it's a great example of how an agency needs to have near real-time access to their data. You can't fly an airplane without instruments. And I know an awful lot of agencies historically have tried to do that. You know, they just kind of run it by the seat of their pants. They just sort of, oh, well, we had sales. Well, we answered the phone today. They look at their accounting at the end of the month, but that's not nearly enough. And I know we're well past that nowadays, but the access that we have to real-time data is really inspiring. And we need to know all of our numbers. What's our cost to acquire a new customer? What's our average revenue per customer, per year, per lifetime of that customer? What's the most profitable product or service that we sell? What's the least profitable that we sell? Maybe we shouldn't focus, make sure we're not efforting on the least profitable or the least growth worthy. Make sure we put our effort into the others so that we go back to that formula: effort times results. That's the work we get done. So it's really great that we have these tools. You got to have these kind of tools. You have to have access to your data. You have to understand what it means. And you have to look at it every week with your team, not just by yourself. Don't go sit in a room if you're the agency principal. You got to sit down with your leadership team. If it's a 3-person agency, you're all sitting down, right? This is it. We are the team. We are the leadership. We're everything. Go ahead and do that and use those tools. And you have to think about integration, right? There's no one tool that's going to do anything for you. Even our guy in the picture a minute ago, he had a hammer, he had gloves, he had goggles, he had a helmet. So there's a lot of different tools. And what's really important is that nowadays that they be integrated. We are living through an amazing period of accelerating integration. And it's really great to see. Every significant tool maker, every significant application maker out there is working on expanding their APIs and their integrations. And when you are looking for tools, when you're assessing how they're doing, when you're giving feedback, very often it's going to be that you want to have it so that your different applications talk to each other, that they are automating. I heard Raushan use the word automate before, that they are automating the business processes that you want to automate. I might talk in a minute about, you don't automate everything. There's some funny examples of that. But the ones that you want to automate because they're worthwhile to do, you get more results for the effort, and you're sure that's a priority for your organization, then you're going to want to make sure that these systems help you do that. You don't want to do double entry between systems, right? I know, don't go for perfect on the first day, but have a vision of your stack, how the tools work together. Talk to other agents, share ideas, talk to your technology partners. They are already, in many cases, thinking about this ahead of you. They're already thinking about how their tool fits into an integrated stack. I think InsuredMine is a great example. Kudos to them. I took a quick look at their most recent integration list. They're integrated with Lightspeed, RingCentral, Twilio, TransPay, and of course they have QQ Catalyst, which is great, and even Zapier. And with Zapier, just to pick one, you can write your own integrations essentially, because what you can do is you can write something against that Zapier that integrates with something you have that nobody else even has. It's not even that hard. It's kind of a low code, no code effort. So think about integration, focus on integration. That's really sort of where you need to get going. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit here so I don't make sure I don't run out of time. And by the way, please on the side, if you wouldn't mind, write down any questions you have. There'll be like a Q&A I'll try to do at the end. And in particular, if you want, you can write down a question or two about one of the challenges we all have, which is, how do you deal with pushback or objections from your team, right? You might have identified an innovation. You might have identified a tool you want to use. You might have identified a workflow change you want to make with a tool perhaps. And, somebody's saying no. And maybe they're right. I mean, we'll get to that, but maybe they're not. And so if you want to write down any questions related to anything at all that I've talked about, but certainly if you want to write a question about objections, I'm happy to deal with that. I think that's always an interesting topic. So let's talk about people and culture. Got to have another quote, not Yogi Berra this time. This time it's a real mentor of mine. technology is easy, carbon is hard. So you're like, what does that mean? So Nick Ellsberg was my boss and CIO at Gallagher in the late 90s and early 2000s. And one day I was complaining about, we had this great tool and why isn't anybody using it inside of Gallagher? And he looked right at me and he said, as if I was the dumbest rock in the world, he goes, Chip, technology is easy, carbon is hard. And what he meant was that the carbon units, the people, were the challenge, right? Writing the code and thinking of make this thing go to there and store this data. That's not that hard. It's just work. But persuading human beings to change what they're doing and learn new things, that's the real challenge. And over time, obviously, I have come to realize that he's exactly right. So one of the things that I believe in, and I think this should be like a t-shirt, is, and I didn't invent this saying, by the way, but culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I have lived long enough to know this is absolutely true. You can have the best plan in the world. You could be the most smart, genius person. If your team isn't innately motivated and geared toward getting it done, if their culture of your team isn't ahead of you and embracing whatever the future is, that vision that we're going over that mountain, and this is why we're going over the mountain. If they don't have that, if you don't have that in the culture, your plan is in trouble. Vice versa, if you have an amazing culture, you could probably have a B+ plan and still be awesome. So keep that in mind. Culture is tapping into the power of shared values, and that is the trick. So bad culture I think of culture like an autopilot, right? Sorry for the airplane analogies, but it's sort of what happens when you're not doing anything. It's if you walk away and you have that bad culture, the bad culture not overseen will just steer you into a rock. It will derail what you're trying to work on. Alternatively, if you have a great culture as a leader, you actually stand a good chance of not being there, and the thing will self-right itself. It will take care of itself because the humans have all the best behaviors and so forth baked in. So anyway, the trick is to nurture those values, which is not easy. I'm not going to say, just go out and build yourself a great culture. It's not that easy. So little things I do, and I'm no expert, but things I would encourage is beware the culture of can't. I think can't is the worst word in the English language. I hated to hear my kids say it. I don't think I have dispelled them of saying it, but I tried to point it out. But when you hear words around the office like, I can't do that, the system can't do that, she can't do that, they can't do that, we can't do that, I hear like nails on a chalkboard, because that's a self-defeating behavior. That's the culture you don't want. And it kind of grows. Any culture, right, will sort of feed. One person it's easy to be the person that figures out what's hard to do. It's more difficult to be the person that talks about what can be done. I think I'm not going to try to quote Bobby Kennedy, but I'm pretty sure Bobby Kennedy had a better quote about that. So, and even I'll tell you what, in job interviews, when I interview people lately, I try to listen for this word. And the other word I really try to listen for is this word, can. Can is the most powerful word to have in your culture. If people instinctively say things like, I can do that, even if they say, I think I can do that, I love it. That's like, I don't need to be here anymore. I need to get out of this room. It's headed in the right direction. We can do that. Best sentence you could hear. She can do that. He can do that. The system can do that. We just need to configure it better, maybe, right? Those are the words you want to hear. There's lots of other ones too, but I just thought I'd give you a really easy one that I use is can or can't. That'll tell you a little bit about where your culture is. Try to be showing leadership by using the word can. And then hire and promote people who practice that and that share the values that you most want. I hope you have, I hope you have a written set of values at the office within your organization. And one of them should be something like, we embrace change. We embrace opportunities to challenge ourselves. We can be the great agency we want to be. And then you want to recognize, reward, promote, and hire people that you think will exhibit those values. If you had everybody on your team exhibiting the best values of the culture you're trying to build, you would have the culture that you want. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's not, but something to think about as a leader. And then embrace your entrepreneurs. So there's always the person that is the person that in every organization that's sort of like, hey, I have this idea. What if we did this? What if we did that? And they're sort of like future entrepreneurs, or maybe they're just entrepreneurs, you know, in terms of their personality and their behaviors, but they're trapped in an organization, not trapped, but they, you know, they live there. And I had a boss, I'll do another Gallagher story. I had a boss named Wally Bryce when I was in my 30s, and he exemplified and even taught me the word intrapreneur, because that's what he thought of himself as. He's like, I'm an entrepreneur, but I work here at Gallagher. So I get to do all the things that an entrepreneur does, but I do it inside of this organization, which means he has extra challenges because he doesn't get to just do whatever he wants. He's got to persuade people, but he also has extra resources because he's got Gallagher. So embrace your intrapreneurs. They are there. Nurture them, encourage them, coach them. They will be very likely the drivers of the best parts of your innovation to come. So that's I would, again, this will be available later, but this is, I'd like to see every agency be able to check these boxes. We have an express set of core values that define our culture. Those values include embracing change and welcoming innovation. We hire and reward people based on their adherence to those values, and we embrace our intrapreneurs. I think those are all things to strive for in your agency. Let's talk about innovation and execution. Experiment, fail, learn, repeat. This is an actual poster that is on the wall in our office. It's collecting a little bit of dust for the last 2 years, but it's there. And I firmly believe in it. Another version of the same idea: fail fast and cheap, fail often, fail in a way that doesn't kill you. This is all exactly how you need to execute on whatever innovations you undertake. Don't undertake a huge project in one bite. Be iterative, figure out what's not going to work. Welcome the fact that it didn't work. That's a gift. I know we've all heard the thing that Edison said, oh, it took me a while. Why did it take you a while? Well, I invented like 999 ways, Edison said, to not invent a light bulb. And now I know a lot about filaments and glass. But anyway, he did that really quick. He would do, 10 a day, and he would move on to the next one. So how do we identify what to actually work on? Well, I've got a couple of tips for you. The way that I think about it, I would do this. And this is, again, a tool you can get on the internet. You can get a good process map template and try to map out roughly what your agency does. What are your processes, both labor and data? Think about labor. Think about the labor humans do. Think about the data. Think about what your applications do, and try to diagram it out. And this is, again, you're not going to do this once and forget about it. This is an organic thing. I'd put it up on a wall and I'd keep it up there, and I'd edit it all the time. And then you can apply sticky notes or whatever you want to do to places where you identify areas where we're putting in too much effort for the result we get. Those are areas to think about innovating in. And that innovation could even be removing the step. I'll get to that in a minute. But number them, and then take those ideas and put them on this kind of a grid. Put them on sort of a priority grid that helps you identify. And this is, there's sort of two axes here. The vertical axis is value to the business, and the horizontal one is effort, cost, and risk. Don't forget about risk to achieve it. And plot out the ones you have from the previous diagram. And what you look for is, for sure, don't do the ones on the bottom right. High effort and low reward. By the way, we all do this. It is so common, but try not to do it. It's a total trap and a waste of time. The bottom left isn't bad, but be careful. The top right is also popular because people see a big high reward. but they also see a lot of effort. Maybe it takes a long time. So those are easy, not easy to think about, but they tend to pop into our minds. The one you're looking for in the short term, that whole fail fast, fail cheap, whatever, is top left. High value, low effort. Try it. Won't take you much effort to try it. See if you get the big gain you're hoping for. If you don't, move on to the next thing. So that's a suggestion I would make for how to identify what to work on. And Elon Musk, actually, I just saw a video, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I grabbed a quote out of this. Perhaps the most common error for an engineer is to optimize a thing that should not exist. I encourage you to look for this video. He's talking about one of his rocket ships. I'm not a rocket ship guy, but one of them. And the reporter that's interviewing him says, "Hey, there used to be a thingamabob over there." And he's an expert. He knows every little thingamabob. The reporter does. He's a real geek. And Elon Musk is kind of impressed that the guy noticed there's no longer a thingamabob there. And he goes, "Well, yeah, we just got rid of that." And he goes, "What do you mean you got rid of that?" So, we didn't need that. That was waste. So be aware. He actually has a 5-step process. Let me see if I can find it. I have it in my notes here. His process to good design. One, and it's important. He says this has to be the order. Make your design, your idea, whatever you're doing, make it dumber. First thing he said, make it dumber. Second, delete that part if you can. Delete it, the part or the process. Third, simplify or optimize it. Fourth, accelerate it. 5, automate it. And never, ever, ever go in the opposite order. And he says, for whatever reason, as humans, we oftentimes go in the opposite direction. The last thing we finally do is delete it or make it simpler. Just go in the opposite direction. You'll have a lot more success. And beware the hovercraft. I have built too many of these in my life. The hovercraft is the gigantic, overly complicated thing that you don't really need. If I need to go a mile over a road, I could rent a bike. I do not need to build a hovercraft. Yes, a hovercraft will do the same thing. It'll get me there and it'll go over a mountain and all this other stuff. But beware the hovercraft. It is filled with risk and filled with horror. Don't do it. So innovation and execution, my tips are, again, have these be checkable. We accept innovation as iterative, trial and error process. When we fail fast and cheap. We have a quantitative approach to prioritizing our innovation. And we understand that very often, less is more. There should be like a less is more award in your office for anybody that figures out something that could be just completely deleted or downsized. Really good things to be had there. So I'm kind of almost done. I'm kind of into Q&A range. I'm happy to talk about any questions you have. As I said, the suggested theme is handling pushbacks and objections. I will stop there, and maybe somebody from InsuredMine can.
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't stop. That was really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm sure everyone else did as well. Your mix of history, baseball, humor, and even a little Elon Musk in there was great. There are some questions that we have. I'm going to pull some from the chat, but first question, when you look at the industry, what do you see as far as like the traditional way or methods that we handle the distribution side on the in the IA channel and possibly even the underwriting? Because you looked at the Back to the Future, and that we have those what do you call them? Not procrastinators, but they predict the future. My brain just
prognosticator.
That's the word. Since I got the Invisalign, I can't say it. So what do you think? Without being a procrastinator,
you want me to prognosticate something? I'll kind of, if I had a lot more time, I think a fascinating topic. And if you guys want to do another session, I think artificial intelligence is really interesting. I think it's really well suited to our business. And I think it's not just for agents. I think it's really fascinating to think about what artificial intelligence could do for the future of underwriting and risk management and claims adjusting and administration and just about every other aspect. There's a great video for any of you. I would encourage you to watch it. It like opened my eyes. I think I saw it 2 years ago, year and a half ago. There's a game of hide and seek. Google artificial intelligence hide and seek game. And these programmers wrote these little guys that run around a map and they're playing hide and seek. And they learn on their own without instructions, not if then. If the guy runs over there, run over here and look for him. You know, it's all AI. And it is unbelievable what these little digital bots learn for themselves about playing the game of hide and seek. So the metaphor, sorry for the long answer, but is think about, you know, bad risks or good risks are trying to hide, right? And we're all seeking good risks, or we're seeking the best insurance company. We're seeking the best product, whatever it is. Insurance has a lot of hide and seek going on. And I think the potential for artificial intelligence to really blow the doors off in some ways of where our industry goes in a positive way. Don't be afraid of it. In a positive way might be found in artificial intelligence. And I'll stop there.
Well, thank you so much. Well, there was another question. I know we're cutting it close, so I just want to thank you for your time. And it was really informative and great information. I wish we would have had you do 2 sessions on technology because there's so much that you've been able to experience, you know, working with, you know, Trusted Choice and all the independent agents. So you see a lot of the best practices. You get an understanding of, you know, what works in all different types of, you know, insurance or agency structures. So again, thank you so much for being here. One more quick question, okay?
Sure.
What 3 things do you think an agency should consider before they implement a CRM like InsuredMine?
That's a good question, especially since you forced 3 on me, Don. All right, let's see if I can do this.
Give me your top 1. If you can do 1.
I would go back. I think I hate to be such a visual guy, but I really would go back to drawing first the vision you have for your agency. And it's unique. You're not the agency down the street. You're really not. Yeah, I hope you're not. Don't try to be that, right? Be your own. So first draw it. And when you start to draw it and think about who are our customers, what are our channels, who are our partners, what are our products? And in the middle, inevitably, you're going to end up with the need, obviously, for some technology to connect it all together. And obviously, the CRM is, by the nature of our business, it's a customer business. You're going to need the best CRM you can have. So there's another good choice, I would say, you know, medium good. There's less than 10, I think, to choose from. I'm not an expert on how many there are. But, you know, talk to your agent friends and get a list of the 5 that you need to think about, whatever it is. I'm just making that number up. And then try to figure out, based on what you're hearing, the demos you're seeing, which one seems to fit, which one's going to integrate with the other likely tools, which one shows the data that you think will make a difference in the model you're trying to drive, right? Is it a growth? Are you focused on growth? Are you focused on margin? Are you focused on a specific product? Are you focused on a specific channel? And when you start to think about what you're going to need in that diagram, you're probably going to identify the tool or tools that seem to have the feature set, seem to have the integrations, seem to have the potential. And listen to the vision. You know, Rauschen has a great vision for the product you guys offer. The other companies also have sort of vision expressions. Listen to what the vision is. Is the vision describing the sort of in the roadmap where you want to go? Those are the things I would do. I would first absolutely draw the canvas and start there. That would be that's my advice.
Good advice. Great advice. Thank you so much, Chris. Go ahead, Montserrat.
So, well, thanks for this presentation, Chip. We really appreciate. And well, it's time to bring also Momin, that he sponsored the coffee with Chip. So I'm going to present Mohamad, and he's going to talk about a little bit about his company. So Mohamad, are you here?
Yes, I am. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good, thank you. So
do
you want to talk about who are you?
Yeah, some of you may
You're
know me,
missing
some
your
of you
video,
don't. My name
Mohamad.
is, say what again?
We are missing your video.
There you go. I'm on my phone, so I have to take my dog to the vet today, so it's been kind of crazy. But yeah, so my name is Mohamad. I am an insurance agent for about 20 some odd years, and I've been doing this fairly well, mostly in the commercial side. But I started in the VA company as well because I saw a need and see what was missing. But the VA Simplified is the solution that we came up with, and with that solution, we try to keep it simple. Like I said, we got a little complicated with VA services, too much contracts and this and that. So the way we have done it is we kept it pretty simple, straight. I call it love us or leave us pricing. You pay monthly, no contracts, just let us know 30 days in advance so we could find a better placement for the VA that you are leaving us for. But yeah, so it's very simple, straightforward. We usually charge $2,100 a month for a 40-hour employee. But for InsuredMine customers, the clients, we are doing $1,499, $1,500 a month.
There you go.
For a 40-hour employee. So, but yeah, try it, like it, keep it, don't like it, let us know 30 days in advance, and you're happy to go where you want. Simple, straightforward.
All right, appreciate that. Thanks for that quick intro of what VA Simplified is. So here's my quick take, guys. Usually I don't take positions on these things, but I'm happy to. So as I say, I believe, based on all the futuristic things I was talking about yesterday, I do believe there is a huge labor arbitrage opportunity in front of us. And again, this is heavy word to say, there is, I'm sure several of you have read the book from Friedman, The World is Flat. He brought it probably 10, 15 years ago, but there is more iterations of that. And having said that, there is an opportunity where you can go near shore to offshore in Philippines, to India, to Pakistan, or to Mexico, to Puerto Rico, you name it. You have access to the labor pool across the world, and that is giving you advantage. Use it to your strategic advantage rather than just more people that you are willing to have in your agency. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for every agencies to revisit their staffing problem. Hey, what are those things which is high volume, low value, but needs that touch? Can I have that VA do that? My only take is consider two things when you're thinking about that. One, a VA who has done this, which means, for example, why I like what Mohamad is doing, or, some of the other, go back to the history of this. The big players were Resource Pro or Patra. Then we had a series of several other, Covered Desk is doing well, Marble Box, several of these guys came and they have scaled well. And then now we see several other, Jason Cass started, Mohamad. So several of these guys are Sabital, I like, So there is several of these agencies who were into the insurance business, but now trying to enhance their value add to the industry by providing capabilities. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for all of you guys to look into an opportunity like this, how you can leverage. And with that, I would say, just good work, Mohamad, that you're willing to step out of just your comfort zone of being just an agency owner to doing something more entrepreneurial. Good luck to you with that. Thank you for sponsoring our Coffee with Chip this morning. And with that, let's move on to the next session. Thank you, Mohamad, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.